Hamelin towns in Brunswick, by famous Hanover City. The river Weser, deep and wide, washes its wool on the southern side. A pleasanter spot you never spied, but when begins my ditty almost 500 years ago? To see the townsfolk suffer so from vermin was a pity. Rats. They fought the dogs and killed the cats, and bit the babies in the cradles, and ate the cheeses out of the vats, and licked the soup from the cook's own ladles. Split open the kegs of salted sprats, made nests inside men's Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chats by drowning their squeaking and squeaking and shrieking in 50 different sharps and flats. At last the people in a body to the town's hall came flocking. "'Tis clear," they cried, "our mayors are noddy. And as for our corporation, shocking to think we buy gowns lined with ermine for dolts that can't or won't determine what's best to rid us of our vermin. You hope, because you're old and obese, to find in the furry civic robes ease? Rouse up, sirs, give your brains a racking, or sure as fate will send you packing." At this the mayor and corporation quaked with a mighty consternation. An hour they sate in council. At length the mayor broke silence. "Gilda, I'd my ermine gown sell. I wish I were a mile hence. It's easy to bid one rack one's brains. I'm sure my poor head aches so. I've scratched it so. And all in vain. Oh, for a trap, a trap." And just as he said this, what should hap at the chamber door but a gentle tap? "Bless us," cried the mayor, "what's that?" With the corporation as he sat, looking little though wondrous fat, nor brighter was his eye nor moister than a too long opened oyster, save when at noon his paunch grew mutinous for a plate of turtle, green and glutinous. "Only a scraping of shoes on the mat. Anything like the sound of a rat makes my heart go pitter-pat." "Come in," the mayor cried, looking bigger. And in did come the strangest figure. His queer long coat, from heel to head, was half of yellow and half of red, and he himself was tall and thin, with sharp blue eyes, each like a pin, and loose light hair, yet swarthy skin, no tuft on cheek nor beard on chin, but lips where smiles went out and in. There was no guessing his kith or kin, and nobody could enough admire this tall man and his quaint attire. Quoth one, "It's as my great-grandsire starting up at the trump of doomsday would walk this way from his painted tombstone." He advanced to the council table and, "Please, your honours," said he, "I'm able, by means of a secret charm, to draw all creatures living beneath the sun that creep or swim or fly or run after me as you never saw. And I chiefly use this charm on creatures that do people harm, the mole and toad and newt and viper. And people call me Pied Piper." And here they noticed around his neck a scarf of red and yellow stripe to match with his coat of the self-same check, and at the scarf's end hung a pipe. And his fingers they noticed were ever straying, as if impatient to be playing upon this pipe as low it dangled over his vesture so old-fangled. "Yet," said he, "poor piper that I am, in Tartary I freed the Cham last June from his huge swarm of gnats. I eased in Aesir the Nizam and his monstrous brood of vampire bats. And as for what your brain bewilders, if I can rid your town of rats, will you give me 1,000 guilders? 1? 50,000 was the exclamation of the astonished mayor and corporation. Into the street the piper stepped, smiling first a little smile, as if he knew what magic slept in his quiet pipe the while. Then, like a musical adept, to blow his pipe his lips he wrinkled, and green and blue his sharp eyes twinkled, like a candle flame where salt is sprinkled. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, you heard as if an army muttered, and the muttering grew to a grumbling, and the grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the houses the rats came tumbling, great rats, small rats, lean rats, brawny rats, brown rats, black rats, grey rats, tawny rats, grave old plodders, gay young friskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, cocking tails and pricking whiskers. Families by tens and dozens, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, followed the pipe for their lives from street to street. He piped advancing, and step for step they followed dancing, where until they came to the river Weser, wherein all plunged and perished, save one, who stout as Julius Caesar swam across and lived to carry, as he the manuscript did cherish, to Ratland, home his commentary, which was, at first, the shrill notes of the pipe I heard a sound as of scraping tripe, in putting apples wondrous ripe into a cider press's gripe, and a moving away of pickled cabbages, and a leaving a jar of conserve cabbages, and a drawing the corks of train oil flasks, and a breaking of the hoops of the butter casks. And it seemed as if a voice sweeter far than by harp or by psaltery is breathed, called out, "O rats, rejoice! The world is grown to one vast dry saltery. So munch on, crunch on, take your luncheon, breakfast, supper, dinner, luncheon. And just as a bulky sugar puncheon, already staved, like a great sun, shone glorious scarce an inch before me, just as me thought it said, come bore me, I found the razor rolling o'er me. You should have heard the Hamelin people ringing the bells till they rocked the steeple. Go, cried the mayor, and get long poles. Poke out the nests and block up the holes. Consult with carpenters and builders and leave in our town not even a trace of the rats. When suddenly up the face of the piper perked in the marketplace with a, first, if you please, my 1,000 guilders. 1,000 guilders. The mayor looked blue. So did the corporation too. For council dinners made rare havoc with claret, moiselle, vin de grave, and hock. And half the money would replenish their cellar's biggest butt with Rhenish. To pay this sum to a wandering fellow, with a gypsy coat of red and yellow. Beside, quoth the mayor with a knowing wink, our business was done at the river's brink. We saw with our own eyes the vermin sink. And what's dead can't come to life, I think. So, friend, we're not the folks to shrink from the duty of giving you something to drink and a matter of money to put in your poke, but as for the guilders, what we spoke of them, as you very well know, was in joke. Besides, our losses have made us thrifty. 1,000 guilders. Come. Take 50. The piper's face fell, and he cried, No trifling, I can't wait. Besides, I've promised to visit by dinner time Baghdad, to accept the prime of the head cook's pottage, all he's rich in, for having left in the caliph's kitchen of a nest of scorpions no survivor. With him I prove no bargain driver. With you, don't think I'll bait a stiver. And folks who put me in a passion may find me after piping in another fashion. How? How? Cried the mayor. Do you think I'll brook being worse treated than a cook? Insulted by a lazy ribald with idle pipe and vesture piebald. You threaten us, fellow, do your worst. I will blow your pipe there until you burst. Once more he stepped into the street, and to his lips again laid his long pipe of smooth, straight cane. And ere he blew 3 notes, such sweet soft notes as yet musician's cunning never gave the enraptured air. There was a rustling that seemed like a bustling of merry crowds justling at pitching and hustling. Small feet were pattering, wooden shoes clattering, little hands clapping and little tongues chattering, and like fowls in a farmyard where barley is scattering, out came the children running. All the little boys and girls with rosy cheeks and flaxen curls, and sparkling eyes and teeth like pearls, tripping and skipping, ran merrily after the wonderful music with shouting and laughter. The mayor was done, and the council stood as if they were changed into blocks of wood, unable to move a step or cry to the children, skipping merrily by, could only follow with the eye that joyous crowd at the piper's back. But how the mayor was on the rack, and the wretched council's bosoms beat as the piper turned from the high street to where the razor rolled its waters right in the way of their sons and daughters. However he turned from south to west, and to Copperberg Hill his steps addressed, and after him the children pressed. Great was the joy in every breast. He can never cross that mighty top. He'll be forced to let the piping stop, and soon we shall see our children stop. When lo, as they reached that mountain side, a wondrous portal opened wide, as if a cavern was suddenly hollowed, and the piper advanced, and the children followed. And when all were in to the very last, the door in the mountain slide shut fast. Did I say all? No. One was lame, and could not dance the whole of the way. And in after years, if you would blame this sadness, he was used to say, "It's dull in our town since my playmates left. I can't pretend I'm not bereft of all the pleasant sights they see, which the piper also promised me. For he led us, he said, to a joyous land, joining the town and just at hand where waters gushed and fruit trees grew, and flowers put forth a fairer hue, and everything was strange and new. And the sparrows were brighter than peacocks here, and their dogs outran our fallow deer. And honeybees had lost their sting, and horses were born with eagle's wing. And just as I became assured my lame foot would be speedily cured, the music stopped outside the hill, and I found myself alone, against my will, to go now limping as before, and never hear of that country more. Alas, alas for Hamelin! There came into many a burgher's pate a text which says that heaven's gate opes to the rich at as easy a rate as a needle's eye takes a camel in. The mayor sent east, west, north, and south to offer the piper by word of mouth wherever it was men's lot to find him, silver and gold to his heart's content. If only he'd return the way he went and bring the children behind him. But when they saw it was lost endeavor, and piper and dancers were gone forever, they made a decree that lawyers never should think their records duly dated, if, after the day and the month and year, these words did not as well appear. And so long after what happened here on the 22nd of July, 1376, and the better in memory to fix the place of the children's last retreat, they called it the Pied Piper's Street, where anyone playing on pipe or tabor was sure for the future to lose his labor, nor suffered they hostelry or tavern to shock with mirth a street so solemn. But opposite the place of the cavern they wrote the story on a column, and on the great church window painted the same, to make the world acquainted how their children were stolen away, and there it stands to this very day. And I must not omit to say that in Transylvania there's a tribe of alien people that ascribe the outlandish ways and dress on which their neighbors lay such stress to their fathers and mothers having risen out of some subterraneous prison into which they were trepanned long time ago in a mighty band out of Hamelin town in Brunswick land. But how or why, they don't understand. So, Willie, let me and you be wipers of schools out with all men, especially pipers. And whether they pipe us free from rats or from mice, if we've promised them aught, let us keep our promise.